Good morning, my fellow travelers on Spaceship Earth. It is I, and I am Guy, coming to you live from Applewood Station in Denver, Colorado, where it's 7 degrees above Celsius, above 0 Celsius. It's a good day outside. I had been doing a painting yesterday because I just wanted to paint to kind of free up my skills a little bit, and didn't like where it went, so I'm redoing it. I've already done the sketch this morning before the show started, which is why I'm late starting. So I'm going to work on the sketch. Hey, Ray. How are things in your part of the planet? You're half of the planet. Minus 40? Oh, it's positive 7 here. I mean, not to rub that in or anything. Minus 40, though. Man, you're in that part of the world where it's just like amazingly cold. Sometimes it's just astonishingly cold. Okay, I've got a question though. Do you have like specialized videos? I just looked up at Nightbot, and do you have specialized vehicles for running at minus 40? Or do you just winterize normal vehicles that you just do a really good job of winterizing them? Hey Brent, looked up at Nightbot and said videos. Which is funny because Nightbot's not saying anything about video. I just, for some reason, got video in my head. People change tires. I mean, it gets to the point where at minus 40, your tires would just go flat because the air would compress inside there. Do you guys use nitrogen in your tires? That's what I would do. I put nitrogen in the tires, that way they wouldn't compress. Because nitrogen doesn't shrink until you're way, way, way. Button on here, on there, on there. Oh, that's a thing. Burning the bottom of their cars with blowtorches. It was minus 40 for 2 hours, but the sun rose and then it got warmer. However, the sun has now fallen again, so man, that's just brutal. Cool, but brutal. No, it's back down to minus 38. That's awesome. Yeah. I think you guys at minus 38, though, I think you're going to have to use a chemical on the roads at that point. Because I don't think that I think even salt water will start to freeze up at minus 38. Mm-hmm. And keeping the roads clear would be difficult. That's my thought. Yeah, the sidewalks are probably treacherous. Yeah. It'd be worse if you were out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I can see that. You right? They just vanish. You had a road. It was once here. It's not here anymore. It is a good thing school's closed today. It's interesting because school's closed today here too. I think that's kind of interesting whenever, especially since I doubt seriously that your school is closed for our presidents. I'm just saying. It is just interesting though. It's interesting that you happen to be having a day off as well. It's just coincidence, I'm sure, but it is an interesting coincidence. And why is school closed today, though? Now I'm curious. Too cold. Gotcha. Well, that seems like a thing. All right. Hey, J Jim. How are you doing this fine and lovely day? You're welcome. Buried alive in snow is probably the worst way to go out, Jim. Or Ray, I totally agree. Well, so far so good. We're just sitting here painting and talking about Ray being buried in snow. Please don't be buried in snow, Ray. I'm kind of fond of you. We like you. We want you to stay with us. Stay with us, Ray. A little under the weather, though. I get that. It's going around, as they say. All right. Let's see how we can do this. It is an astronaut I'm painting. I did a version of her last night, and I didn't have the proportions right, and now I'm kind of aggravated with it, so I'm going back over it. So I re-sketched her this morning, and the sketch is much better and much more accurate. My proportions were way off. I don't know what my problem is. I think I might have to spend some time going back to the proportions drawing board and just working on proportions. Sometimes, if you don't work a skill enough, you lose it. All right, time to zoom in. Let's get in here and get tight with this thing. Because at this point, we've got to kind of go through here and here. Kind of get into that area there. And up through here, which actually end up being pretty much all of this area out here is going to end up being... Are we saving? You lost your brain? There we go. That was a good pun. I like it. Are you a dad, Jim? Telling dad jokes out there? Oh, man. Always looks a little rough whenever we start, when we're here. We kind of get in here, and when I first have all of the shadows marked out and everything, it always looks so rough to me. Moreover, in an interesting sort of way, it makes the person look older. And the reference that I use, she's very young. Doesn't look at all like she's old, but because of the nature of putting all these lines on her face, it makes her look really markedly older, which I find fascinating. And it's just the nature of putting lines on a face. Oh, well, happy birthday. when it arrives, naturally. And apparently it's important to know that my friends are playing Fallout. That particular friend, though, it's probably a good thing, because today is President's Day, and that means he's not at school. I have to be at school today, though, which I find funny. Doesn't bother me, because it's my, like I said last night, it's my core class, so actually it's pretty cool. All right. I definitely have some problems here we're going to have to go through and fix. There we go. Just get that back in there. Who is my favorite president? Probably Kennedy would be my guess. I say guess because it all depends. I like Dwight D. Eisenhower for putting in the interstate system, but I'm a space nerd. And I mean, you can't beat Kennedy for pushing us to the moon. So, kind of just feel like Kennedy's probably my... And consequently, I absolutely despise Nixon for the exact same reason, because he canceled the rest of Apollo. But none of the reasons, the reasons that I like or dislike these presidents has absolutely nothing at all to do with their politics, just how much they messed up the space program. Because I am a simple human. It's all about whether you messed up the space program or not. New Hire Monday. That sounds like a thing. All right. That's true. Nixon did have a funnier accent. I'm not gonna discount that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Washington was pretty cool. Jefferson was interesting. I mean, it's like everything, though. There's all of these sort of varying degrees. No, I think I have too much. The blender is too hard at this point. All right. describe the cheek there a little bit. What's your take on the Gen Z? Are you talking about like the generation? Because I'm Gen X, and that are you talking about that? The generation themselves? Because if you're 30, then that means you're millennial. Yeah, that. So it's interesting because I've got a number of Gen Z kids nowadays that, like my own kid is a Gen Z. And the one thing that kind of worries me about them is that there's two types of Gen Zers. There's the Doomers and the Zoomers. The Zoomers, they seem to be, heading forward and doing their thing, but the Doomers just feel like the world's coming to an end and there's no point. And so they've just given up, They're not moving forward or anything like that. And that worries me a lot, especially since as I study more in cultural anthropology, I'm more and more aware of just how much propaganda is playing a big part in what we see and hear on the news. And it's, there is a real need or push to make us stay scared because that controls our vote on either side. Disagree on what, Ray? I mean, because I guess, Jim, it is fair. We have to say that there's an ethnocentricity on this, because Ray's going to find a different result because you're in a different country. So I think we're really only talking about ethnically American Gen Z. Because you're right, Ray. It'll be good morning, cheeks. It would be ethnically centric to American Gen Z. That's my thought process on this. I have recently learned about ethnocentrism and the threats therein in class, and how we have to be careful about where and how we ethnocentralize. So thanks for catching us on that there, Ray. But in the normal world, in the real world, IRL, I'm a driving instructor that teaches the classroom 30-hour driving school. And so every week or so, I've got a new set of kids. They're completely different than the last set of kids. So and now I'm in school again to learn to be a cultural anthropologist, because cultures fascinate me. And I love learning about other cultures and other people all over the world. So I have gone back to school to be a cultural anthropologist. And Ray, I'm with you. Actually, the Doomers are, I feel like our propaganda really is pushing hard to make it feel like the world's coming to an end. But I agree with you, it's not. I think in the big picture, we are doing much, much better. And I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. Mm-hmm. It is interesting. Jim, you're talking about something that we actually were just discussing last week, and that is, do you consider the internet to be a locale? So, if I were to, let's say, go visit Ray in Ray's home country, there's a certain amount of, I'd have to suspend my ethnocentricity. I can't be American. I have to be embedded. But I mean, it's not a like I'm lying or anything like that. It's just a simple be with the culture, act with the culture, behave with the culture sort of thing. And the real question at that point becomes, how do I, that's all about the locale. It's all about where I am, the location. I lost my train of thought for a minute there. And being a visiting scientist, visiting another culture and capturing that culture is all about doing it in a way that's respectful to the culture, right? Well, then you start talking about the internet, and we have a completely different culture here, but it is a culture that everybody sort of agrees on, whether they're where Ray is or where you are or where I am. And that's interesting and fascinating and maybe even a little scary. I'm getting a lot of messages this morning, like 12 so far. So just suddenly there was a lot of activity in my friend group. But yeah, there's an entire discussion topic about being, is the internet its own ethnicity? Is being, as they say, a netizen, is that its own ethnicity? Yeah. Well, and I mean, certainly to me, there are no, it's one of the attractions I have to being on the internet is that none of this is, we don't have there's no, what am I trying to say here? Like here on this show, we don't have political alignments. I mean, you've got your own political alignment, but that's not the way this show is set up. We're all just here to draw, or do our work or whatever, And so it's not a matter of, who's doing what and what war and where and how, because all of those things exist, but they have no real bearing on whether you're doing your work today or not. because we're just here doing our jobs. And it's interesting to me. We don't have ethnicity here. We have like a different ethnicity. It's almost like we have our own world. Maybe I should write a paper about my stream. I feel like my professor would be like, "This is a strange paper you have written. It seems strangely personal. Like like you actually do something with this paper." Yeah, maybe. Have a part in this paper. Maybe. See you later, Jim. Have a good evening or good day, depending on where you are. Right? I don't know. It's very intriguing to be in my cultural anthropology class, because a couple of things I'm learning. One, this is most certainly where I need to be. I mean, like, I am fascinated by everything I have read in that class. I'm fascinated by everything I have done. I'm fascinated by all the people, the different cultures we've talked about. I'm fascinated by it all. And so I am mostly intrigued by exactly how perfect this job is for me. And I'm kind of excited about the idea that I might go into another culture and hang out there and talk to the people and learn about the culture and, try to record the culture so that it's not lost, so we don't lose it. Because of course everything evolves and there's nothing we can do about the march of time. And so the only way we can do anything about the march of time is to, preserve it. Wavy web search. That would definitely be interesting to me. I'm about to open up a notepad because of that. Because you are not wrong. I'm about to open a notepad, except I'm not. Because something just locked up the machine. There we go. New text document. I'm going to start the document called Cultural Anthropology Notes in General. And I'm going to go into chat and steal that. Wavy web surf. What's the topic for your paper? At the moment, my new cultural anthropology paper will be, this particular paper is going to be on what's in a name. Because for anthropology, we've got to talk about naming conventions. And I spent a lot of time in Japan, which has, of course, the first obvious top level one is that, of course, Japan, like a lot of Asian nations, do their names in reverse from Western. So with the family name first. But when I was over there, they sort of intentionally misread my name. And I thought that was fascinating and interesting. So they read my name in reverse so that the kids would effectively call me by instead of calling me Mr. Family Name, they called me Mr. Given Name, which a few of the other teachers, because it was sort of that was sort of the tradition for the foreign teachers, but a couple of the other teachers kind of took exception to that. And they were not, it was, they felt like that was a power play. Trying to keep the teachers sort of naturally below below the Japanese teachers in a respect level. And I didn't find that to be the problem, because personally, as a teacher, I prefer to be not scary. Like, that's my preference. So, as a teacher, that was my desire. So I was okay if I was less scary by using my first name. But I am familiar and aware of what the other teachers were saying. So I'm going to write a paper on that and give kind of an analysis of that and where it stands culturally. You don't have family names? That's even more interesting. Because Ray, you're in an area of the world that I'm interested in as an anthropologist. And so I didn't know that you don't have family names. How do you associate yourself with your family? I mean, how do you mark that you're part of your family? How do you say your father's name? Oh, so the mother's name has no bearing. That's interesting. It's like Mexican culture here, the Mexican culture in America, on the America side, they tend to hyphenate the names. So it's father's name hyphen mother's name, so that they're together. And I still need to track down one of my Mexican buddies and ask them. Yeah, the mothers keep their name, but the lineage stops there then. I guess it stops here too. Now that I think about it, my mom married my dad and took my dad's name, my dad's last name. So it's not much different. I mean, I'm being all surprised and shocked, but now that I think about it, that's just the way it goes. I mean, it's like, that's the way the history has been. The people who are the most egalitarian would be the Mexicans, because they're keeping both names in a hierarchy. But you can't keep doing all of that. Painting. Hey, Colton. I'm painting. I've been wanting to paint for a while. But then now Ray and I are having an awesome discussion, which is fun. But yeah, you've been doing head sketches. This is an astronaut. Look at that. I got like the space suit and everything. I'm doing it. We're getting in here. So, I mean, Ray, at some point in time, I'm going to be poking around in your part of the world, because it's part of the overriding cultures that fascinate me. And all of, thank you. All of Eastern Asia, especially Southeastern Asia, is fascinating to me. That group of people, all of those people, from the Chinese, the Mongolians, all the way through to the Japanese and into Polynesia, all of those people are, for some reason, those cultures are really interesting to me. And so I'm just going to be poking around in those cultures. Be like, why is he still poking around here? I don't know, just feed him food. That's what he really does. He just travels the world in his stomach. The other day I was talking about something. I don't remember what, but I was talking about, some of my favorite foods. And my kiddo, of all people, my kid's like, well, of course you want to do that, Dad, because you travel the world on your stomach. And I was like, does everybody know this? like, man. And kiddo's like, yeah, of course, Dad. That's just the way it goes. Like, thank you, Colton. I'm just kind of getting in here. I don't know. Might have been different. Well, I think all of it's different. Ray, I also have an archaeology class. And I think if I was younger, I probably would have gone into archaeology, but there's no way I can spend 8 hours in the hot Israeli sun digging up a Persian site on my hands and knees. There is no way. I know that sounded oddly specific. That's actually what my archaeology professor, was doing last summer. He was digging up a site in Israel that was Persian. So long before any of the other cultures were there. And he was working that site. And I was like, wow. So that's, despite the fact that it sounds oddly specific. Hey, somebody's joining me. I heard the boop of somebody joining me. That somebody is Colton.
Thought I'd come in and actually say hi.
Hey, bro, how you doing?
I'm all right. Just got done with the meeting. You?
I'm doing fine. Oddly, I think I've got school today, so that's kind of weird.
Oddly, like work school or actual school?
I mean, as in, like, I'm going to go to college, go out to the campus
Nice.
but it's a core class, so I'm looking forward to it. It's my cultural anthropology class, so I am so enamored with that class. I've read everything. I've read everything to the end of the semester already.
Already? Dang.
It's just like one story after another after another.
If you do that, what are you going to learn later on?
I know, right? I just cruise in the class. That's what I do.
Right. Nah, I just been busy with school, so yeah. I was like, oh, hey, guys, I'm going to say hi.
Yeah, you might as well join me.
I got out of a meeting, and I was like, oh, yeah, guy sometimes streams in the mornings.
Yeah. I got another 45 minutes streaming time. And we've been having interesting discussions over here on the side. Like, we had somebody drop in and kind of talk about that. Ray says hello.
Ray says hello. Hi, Ray. Hey, Ray.
Ray is in a part of the world that's hit minus 40 degrees Celsius last night. So
the negative 15 that we had, I couldn't even deal with.
Yeah, I know, right? But at negative 40, it's actually
Canada?
Oddly, no, other side of the world in Asia. On the Mongolian steppe.
Oh, hey.
So
one of my good buddies is Mongolian.
That's why I'm saying, like, Ray's in the part of the world that I'm actually very interested in. It's like I'm gonna be studying that part of the world somewhere along the line, because that's all that Southeast Asia, all the way from the Mongolian area through the Himalayas and then out to sea, through China and then out to Japan and the Polynesian islands. Those are all I don't know. At first it was an attraction to Japan, obviously, but it's spread now. Now I'm all fascinated by Chinese culture and Korean culture and the Polynesian cultures. And I'm
good. You're not limiting yourself.
Yeah, I've spread all out all over the place. Everybody's like, you might not like the food.
You might like the food. Who knows?
I might not. I don't know. It depends. I would certainly give it a shot. But that's one of the things we've been talking about with cultural ethnicity or ethnocentrism, which is when when you see only your own culture and you kind of get caught up in your own culture. As a cultural anthropologist, you can't do that. Your job is to observe other cultures, and so you can't get caught up in your own culture. And there have been a couple of case studies that I have read that are just harrowing, and it's just so like heartbreaking. You feel bad for the anthropologist in that particular area.
Yeah.
Minus 42?
Pass.
So at minus 40, Fahrenheit and Celsius are the same. So minus 40 Celsius is the same as minus 40 Fahrenheit. I'm just saying.
How's that work that way?
It's just because of the way that everything is. That's where the two measurements hit the same point.
Huh.
So just an interesting side note.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it means anything other than, isn't that interesting?
It makes sense though with South Dakota though. Like I have family up there. It can get cold.
It can get some seriously cold up in South Dakota. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, of course, Ray is out on the. Well, yeah. I mean, some ethnodiversity. We've got some serious ethnodiversity here in America as far as like different cultures. However, one could argue that despite all of our different cultures here, we actually are only one culture. Like, because the Americans
don't like change.
Just sort of just absorbs people, and then they all become American, And we actually sort of have a mechanism in our culture that does that, One could argue anyway. So
we yeah. It's a
I mean, it seems
Americans
like
I'd say just though, like Americans don't like change. That's the other.
Americans don't like what?
Change.
Yeah, we really don't.
Like we're a cesspot of a change, and everybody's like, we hate it. I'm like, that's why you're here.
Yeah.
Is that wet?
All right. I'm at this point.
Not good.
All right. I'm just gonna bring this in a little bit. Like that. Life just kept going on even though you're in the middle of a polar vortex.
Mm-hmm.
I guess kind of that happens here even when it was minus 15, we just kept going.
Yeah, I still had to go into work.
Yeah,
the heaters were down and we still had to work, and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, right. Especially since at the time you were working at FedEx, weren't you?
No, I was at the hotel.
Oh, you were at the hotel. At that minus 15, really? Huh.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's a recent one.
Yeah. This is that one from. That's all right. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it was pretty bad.
Better than FedEx, then. I mean,
yeah, way better than FedEx. But yeah, definitely one of those that I do not miss it. That's for sure. But no, I was actually like at work, and I had to be wearing long underwear because it was so cold in the hotel.
In the hotel, wow.
That even people were coming down to the bar just to get a beer coat, so they could actually just get out of the room for 5 minutes.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, that's rough.
I got a lot of regulars who are on, what is going on? I was like, well, it's too cold, and the design of the building was not properly thought of, oh yeah, we have 2 sliding glass doors. Every time both of them open at the same time, it sucks out all the hot air.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, yeah, that makes more sense now. Like, yep.
You have regulars at a hotel. That's baffling to me. And I mean,
not awesome. I love it.
I mean, not that baffling, I guess, but still.
Well, it's nice because like you only see them like for a week, then they disappear for about a month, and they come back for another. Instant, very cool. Yes, very cold.
Yeah.
A lot of cooling.
Dropped everything. The temperature goes down. Life starts.
I hated like it was one of the worst times I ever had at that hotel. At least weather-wise. Let me phrase that. Weather-wise, yes.
You don't
I've had some pretty bad experiences there. What?
You don't work there?
No, I'm still there.
Okay.
Right now.
That's good.
I am currently debating the jump to the Bay right now. To try and pursue what I want to do.
Bay Area, you wouldn't have to worry about minus 15.
No, all my friends are like, yeah, it's only like 50 today. I'm like, I hate you all.
Right?
I was like, that's shorts weather, and they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, oh no, I'm contemplating shorts right now.
Right.
Like, is it warm enough? Yeah, it is.
Right.
I even texted my friend that lives out there. I was like, so that's from here, and I was like, so what you wearing today? They're like tank tops. I'm like, I hate you.
Right.
It's negative 15. You're saying how cold is this? Like 50. Like, if I ever see you, I'm pushing you in the water.
Right. Push you into the water.
You're going into the ocean. I don't care. But yeah, to finish my degree, I'm thinking about just making the jump and just finishing it out there.
You're thinking of what?
To finish my degree.
Mm-hmm. Oh, going out to the Bay Area?
Is actually living out there and just doing on-campus type stuff.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, I'd miss you, but wouldn't miss you that much because you could probably still be on my stream. I'd
just be an
pretty
hour
much
behind
as much
you.
as I usually do.
I'd just be an hour behind. That's all.
Yeah. Well, Ray's on the other side of the world, so
That's true.
like Ray keeps dropping in. And I have no real clue what time it is over there. I can do an educated guess because it's 2:30 in the morning in Tokyo, so
Right.
I an educated guess it's not super warm.
Also, if you hear any like noise or whatnot, it's probably my neighbors. They just
Mm-hmm.
their place all put together. I'm just kind of like, well, let's hopefully this is as loud as they're gonna get. You know.
Uh-huh.
They literally moved in yesterday. We were doing like the big move yesterday, and I was sitting there on a stream with all my classmates, just doing like the school workshops. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's all hang out while we do schoolwork, just so we're all doing stuff. You know.
Yeah, I think that's what my buddies are gonna do tomorrow. So,
Great.
But at school.
Especially if you're needing just someone to work with. It's kind of
Yeah.
nice. I'm the one that like opens up their like camera and all that stuff and just lets people just see what I'm doing all the time. Like I'm drawing. So like I'm like it's kind of a thing for me. Like if I see you drawing, it makes me want to draw.
Exactly.
And they're like, oh, that makes sense. And as soon as I said that, like 4 of them threw their cameras up, and I was like, there you go. This isn't just for you; it's for everybody.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, that makes so much more sense. I'm like, yeah. Do you ever notice that because a lot of them are on-campus students? I was like, do you ever notice like when you're actually in your class and people are drawing around you, that you're a little bit more motivated to keep going because you look over, it's like, I really don't want to do this. You look over, I'm like, they're still going. You got to keep drawing.
Right.
Oh, you're right. That is so true. I'm like, yeah, it's a natural thing.
It's why we're doing this stream here, as a matter of fact.
I'm finally getting into. But then also, like, there's a networking group that came in through the hotel one day.
Who?
a networking
Oh.
group, like a business networking group. And for some reason, I left such a good impression. They keep sending my name out to everybody. They're like, hey, you need to talk to this kid. You need to talk to him. I was like, what is going on?
It's kind of weird.
Like for the past like 3 weeks now, it's just been people like, hey, we should talk on Zoom. We should connect. We should talk. And I was like, why is this? What is happening?
Like, I'm a bartender.
I know. I'm a bartender artist. Like, what do you guys got for me? Like,
Yeah.
out of like the 4 conversations I've actually had this week, or this like past 2 weeks, today's was actually the better one because she actually is kind of in the entertainment industry. I was like, oh my god.
Now you I can talk to.
I was like, this might actually work somewhere.
Yep.
Like, this is cool. Okay. The only thing that we came out with it though on the end of it was like, hey, you need to like send me your portfolio, and I was like, I will update that right now. Give me about a week.
Can you bartend a business?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you can.
In a way, yeah.
All right. I don't know. I'm having fun with this painting.
Good.
I'm kind of looking cool already. Getting in there and looking nice. And that's the goal, though. To have fun with these things.
What is?
I was just saying them. That's the goal that we're after here, is to have fun. So
I'm just making bad jokes.
no, you're just being funny. Oh, they tore down our Perkins.
Did they finally get rid of it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not the. I don't know what about the one that's out at on 104th, but the one that was here on 88th, which I don't think you went very often. Yeah, I don't think you went to that one very often.
One on Sheridan?
Yeah.
Oh no, I used to hang out that one like a long time ago.
Yeah, they
Not
tore
with
it
you
down
guys, it was like
weeks
I
ago.
used to live next door to it. That we used to go hang out there every night.
Right.
Sucks. And the one on Colorado's gone now. One down here, Colorado I-25 area.
Yeah.
They got rid of that one too. I forgot that Perkins.
Yeah.
You guys still hang out over there or no?
No, I mean we were, but
Anymore.
now, of course, obviously we don't. But you know, we
I mean,
did.
you could still go hang out in the parking lot. Like, hey,
Right?
We're still
We just
waiting.
hang out in the parking lot. We missed
I
this.
miss my eggs. Give me my eggs. I miss those days. Those were good days.
I do too.
If you want, by the way, if you want to get into some live sketching, every Wednesday after 2 o'clock, we go to the Nature and Science Museum right now since it's cold.
Oh, hey, that's
And
kind of
just me and my friend, we just sit there and draw at the Nature and Science. We just go to exhibits and just hang out there. Sometimes we do watercolor. Sometimes we just sit there and sketch in our sketchbooks.
That does sound like fun.
It is an open invite if you're here.
Learn some watercolor.
Generation name's so weird. I don't know. I'm a millennial. I don't understand that one.
Oh, generation names? Yeah, like every generation, it seems like we've got the weirder names.
Which one was yours? You're Z?
For me?
X. Yeah.
I'm X.
You're X. Z's after me, right?
Yeah, Z's after you. You're a millennial. Then there's Gen Z, which would be my kid.
I'm like a Z millennial. Is kind of how.
Yeah.
Something like
no, you're old enough to be firmly in millennial.
Okay. Everybody always says since I'm like late 80s, I'd be considered.
Yeah, it's. And then Alpha is the newest one that they're calling.
Alpha?
Yeah.
Don't give them a head. Don't give them a big head.
Right? They're going to get all...
Boomer XYZ Alpha.
Well, no, I mean, Ray's right. That's exactly what it is. It's Boomer, then it's X, then it's Y, and then it's C, and then it's Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's really Boomer X Millennial Z Alpha. I don't think... Because you guys are technically Gen Y, but... I think you guys kind of adopted millennial as sort of
I wonder why millennial became a word.
Because you guys are all born right around the cusp of 2000.
The millennia. Got
right.
It. That makes so much more sense.
So this is late 90s to early 2000s. So if you were born anywhere in the late 90s, mid to late 90s through 2000, I think up to 2000. So it's probably like the 90s to 2000 thereabouts, or just a little after 2000. That makes you. That makes you millennial. Yeah, you were born 3 years ago. Don't talk to me, George. Yeah, it's because you were born 3 years ago. You are Gen Alpha. Except you're a cat. So that makes it very difficult for you to be Gen Alpha because you're a cat. You're a fuzzy cat, and you're a weird cat, but you're a cat. I'm just saying.
You cat?
Yeah, he sits on my chest, and then, like, when I'm laying in bed at night and I'm just trying to wind down, so I've got a book, and I'm reading my book, and he'll get up and sit on my chest and stick his head over the top of the book, like, nope, no reading, distraction.
It's your turn to pay attention to me.
Right? Your requirement is, your job as a human is, you are failing at your job. Cracks me up.
How's the rest of the crew? Are they good?
Yeah, so far, I mean, well, and it's hard for me to tell because I really haven't been to any of the in-person meetings since July, probably because of all the things that have been going on in my life.
Yeah, so you've been doing school and other stuff. And...
Yeah, it's just been kind of, so I haven't really been back, but I'm still on their threads. I mean, like they still talk to me and stuff. I'm assuming nobody thinks that I'm a bad person and need to be ejected from the group because of that. I'm assuming we're okay.
Who's all in your group now? Who's all in the like you guys have?
Usually it's Boy Bob and Ross and
Boy Bob and his three Amigo crew.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it's David and sometimes we get Roberto. But I don't know. I mean, right now, Berto's having problems because his family is super compromised, and so he doesn't want to catch COVID. And so We get kind of he's kind of isolating a little bit, which totally understandable. I get that.
Mhm. It's also nice of him to be like, "Hey, this is going on. Sorry, we'll talk later."
Yeah. Huh. And and so stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just easily distracted today because I don't know. I'm kind of in a painty mood. I don't know. I just been kind of out here
That's
kind of
awesome.
painting and doing
No, I was
stuff.
just kind of curious who everybody, who you all
Yeah, I mean,
individual
and like I
hang
said,
around in.
sometimes we get David and sometimes we don't. It's kind of it depends. Depends on where David is and what he's doing.
That's cool that they're all still friends.
Yeah. No, and I don't think anybody's, not we're not at that, there's no not that I can tell.
You guys just hanging out, just drawing
Yeah,
on
we're
occasion,
hanging and
just getting
drawing,
out of the house.
getting out of the house, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially useful when, you've got the kid and it's nice to just kind of get away for a bit.
Yeah.
I love my kid to the end of the earth, but sometimes it's nice to just get away.
Mm-hmm. Also, sometimes you just need to change the scenery. I think that's actually one reason I do miss doing the live meetups all the time. Was that it was always a change of scenery.
Right.
I would feel like I'd get more done there some days than I actually would have.
Agreed.
But it's that same mentality that we're talking about here too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're working. Let's keep going.
Right. But like I said, it's the whole point of this this show.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this thing done. Have I ever thought about changing names? Yes. So,
To not be Guy. I like Guy.
oh, well, thank you. Well, I mean, when I was younger, obviously not anymore. I think if I change names now, I'd forget. So, like, I want to be called Bob from now on, and everybody be like, "Hey, Bob," and I'd be like, "Doo dee doo."
Oh yeah, that's me.
Oh yeah, that's right. So not now, but when I was younger, I had thought about it. Because Guy is kind of a weird name. Even though I'm named after my grandfather, who was also a guy. But even though that's the case, my dad gave me a middle name that was pretty normal, so that if I was getting, too much.
You felt like just saying a different name, you could use it.
Yeah, if I got too much harassment in school or whatever for being named Guy, then I could switch. And so I was given like a normal, average name and is my middle name, so I could switch. But yeah, but
I'll
I
switch.
I didn't get enough grief in school for my name. It didn't. Nobody really made much of a deal. I mean, every so often I get the Guy Smiley joke, or you know. So then I made this sort of rule that you can only make fun of my name if you can come up with something I haven't heard, and that usually shuts people down because they're like, "Oh yeah, that's low hanging fruit. Oh, that's low hanging fruit. Yeah, okay, you probably heard everything I can think of." So, which makes it kind of funny. But yeah. So
So if you
yeah,
can actually come up with something good, though, you get something out of it.
yeah, and I mean, maybe somebody somewhere out there will come up with something interesting. I had somebody make a joke about guy lines once, and that was something I hadn't heard before.
Guidelines.
Guy lines. Those are the lines that either hold up sails on a boat, or the lines you see that hold up a pole. Like if you have a really tall radio tower, the lines that they'll run to the ground to keep it from falling over, those are called guy lines.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I think Ray is actually, yeah, I know, totally. That's exactly what I do. I said, okay, you could do it, but you got to come up with something I've never thought of, I've never heard. Or nothing I've ever heard in kindergarten. Because, I mean, you know, in kindergarten, I heard all kinds of stuff. Your name's Guy? Let's make jokes about Guy. Although recently, that's been Bob's thing, because Bob's generic person name is Guy, and my generic person name is Bob, which becomes hysterical. We both think that's funny.
Oi Bob?
Yeah, Bob. Oi Bob. Yeah, because I mean,
that's
like,
also Bob though. Like Bob just makes jokes to make jokes.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is like his, you know, we're just talking about some guy. He uses the word Guy, and when I'm talking about some generic guy, I use the word Bob. And we thought that was particularly funny.
That is funny.
You guys are your generic people,
right? We're each other's generic people.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, I use Bob all the time because I can't remember names very well, and so, like when I do classes, I'm like, hey guys, I'm bad with names. I'll do the best that I can, but for the most part, you guys will all be Bob.
You know, that's one reason I say Bub a lot. If you're like Bud, hey Bud, how you doing, Bud? You doing good, Bud? And then next thing it's like, oh yeah, that's the name. Hey guy, hi.
The funny part, well, the not funny part.
Me too, Brent. Me too.
Right? Weird. You guys all have this photographer guy who's got the same name. That's so weird. I think Ray is actually like just found out that my name really is Guy. That's usually a thing, like people are always shocked. They're like, wait, your name really is Guy? Yes, it's Guy. It's on my birth certificate.
Hasn't changed
on the birth certificate. But like I said, my dad was ready to let me have a different name if I was getting harassed.
He gave you the opportunity, which is nice of him, actually.
Yeah, it was what I was thinking. I was like, that's actually kind of nice, you know.
It's like a lot of parents, like, if you want to change your name, they get super offended.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame them. My kiddo is going by a different name right now because that's just the stage we're in, and it actually kind of hurt. I spent a lot of time on that name.
Do you have a name that translates to Guy? What's the name in Mongolian? I want to know.
Yeah, now I'm kind of curious. What would you call your generic person name? You know, you're just talking about Bob over here. You're talking about some guy, you know. I'm curious what that is.
I mean, I used to make fun of Bob every once in a while too. So.
Bob's
I walked by Bob and I was like, his name was Robert Paulson. He's like, shut up.
Oh, man. I can't. He doesn't feel like a Robert though.
Oh no, he doesn't. But that's.
That would get in trouble though. Yeah. It's probably your name.
Probably my name, Ray.
Oh no, Ray's like, it's probably my name. Yeah.
I'm the normal one, apparently.
Names are, well, and that's, like I said, that's what my paper is what's in a name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the topic of the paper is, or the topic that the professor has put forth is what's in a name, you know? And that's the topic that he's declared for the class. And I think that's interesting. And so kind of, because he's got 4 papers that we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, sorry, he has 4 papers. He doesn't want us to do all 4 of them. He wants us to pick 2 that we like. And his first one was on reality TV, and I don't know. I find that to be interesting, but I don't think I can find enough valuable information on reality TV
I also think that reality TV is just.
to actually do that paper. So I'm skipping that one and moving on to what's in a name, which I can find information on. Allsbold.
That's the problem I'm having with one of my history classes. Everything that they want us to write about, I'm like, I have no drive to care about this class.
Yeah.
And I was even talking to like some of the students about it too. I was like, I'll pay you guys. You want to do this for me? They're like, no.
Right.
Allsbold.
Yeah, Allsbold. Which sounds kind of like balls.
Did you say that one? Batkeep? Batkeep?
Oh, bot.
Batkeep?
Now we're trying to figure it
How do
out.
you say wise? I don't remember how you pronounce wise in the
Yeah. Well, and I think also we may be missing characters because I think we're, when we get in between two languages, it's difficult to kind of.
Because we're American?
Well, no, maybe because, Ray's pronouncing words that aren't in our lexicon. I was doing a study on a tribe in Africa, and they're one of the clicking sound tribes. And it's fascinating because in English, the way you write their name is with an exclamation point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that. That's the name of it. And you have to click and then go
Yeah.
You put the exclamation point, then KUNG. And that K just indicates that the click is a guttural stop right after it. And I'm like, that is fascinating to me. I also discovered that there's a fourth discipline under anthropology, and it's linguistic anthropology. And I'm like, I may be somewhere between a cultural anthropologist and linguistic anthropologist when I finally am done. Because also,
languages and everything.
When Ray is talking about language, that language and that group of language area is, where is it descended from? What language is it descended from? Is it descended from more the Russian languages and out in the Russian side, or is it from the Chinese side? Because it's, location wise, it's between those two. And so it's always kind of fascinating because those are two very different language groups.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very different. And so, it's like ethnically, where do the people fall on that? And that's interesting. These things are all fascinating. This is why I'm in the right place. Because, it's not right. Or is it completely independent? Which makes some sense, because actually, now that I think about it, it does have a different set of sound groups. But it had to have come from somewhere. Where's its root,
Mm-hmm.
All languages come from somewhere. Technically, all of our languages were one language once,
No, it's like Japanese.
Yeah.
The writing system came from China.
Right? But
Japan made it simplified and just broke it down. Right.
But the even though the writing system came from Chinese, that's a blunder. Even though the writing system came from Chinese, it had two waves. So it had one wave that went over earlier. Your language is still a mystery. I see, now you've piqued my interest.
Guy down a rabbit hole.
Right? No, you're not wrong. That's right. It's all pretty because it's also vertical. There are only a handful of vertical languages.
Oh, Mongolian?
Yeah, written from top to bottom. So what's its root? It's in the 44-BAA-B linguisphere. That's a very rare. That's a rare linguistic group. You weren't kidding, Ray. It's very, very, very unique and by itself. And talking about its dialects.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, Xianbei. I see. So Mongolian may have come from Xianbei,
That name.
which is a Proto-Chinese language. But it says possible. So they don't know for sure. Ray's right. This is like, people don't know exactly where this has come from. Because its proto-language was Proto-Mongolian. So before Mongolian, there was Proto-Mongolian, which is effectively Mongolian. So it's like English, which has, its precursor is Old English.
Mhm.
You're like, well, okay, that didn't help us any. This is fascinating. There's not a lot on Proto-Mongolian, though. It's the hypothetical ancestor. And then it just stops here on the tree. Also, yeah, but you're learning English, which we all make jokes about because English isn't a real language. It's 3 languages in a trench coat pretending to be a language. Inner Mongolian sounds so weird. Well, see, now I kind of want to learn Mongolian. I'm like, because it's like such an interesting. So it's so rare to find vertical languages. Like Chinese is done vertically. Traditional Chinese and traditional Japanese is done vertically as well. So I find vertical languages to be fascinating. And so I love that kind of stuff. Ray, you put me down a rabbit hole.
Good job.
But you are absolutely right. Your language is definitely a mystery. They think it's from a Chinese root, which would make sense because it's vertical. Like your writing is from top to bottom. Yeah, you can't write it the other direction. Whereas Chinese can be written left to right. And so can Japanese. That just fascinates me. Absolutely fascinates me.
Isn't Korean up and down too, or no?
Korean, so Hangul gets, I don't think there's an up and down vertical version of it. I can't see it in my head.
I can't remember.
I can't see a vertical version of Hangul.
Okay, I can't remember if it could or not.
Yeah, I can't see it, so I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to ever. Now that I've been in science classes, I no longer want to say absolutely for sure anything anymore. Because, like, nothing's for sure.
Now that you're becoming the true scientist.
I'm like becoming this honest to goodness scientist, and like nothing's for sure. We don't know. cracks me up. So, Ray, when you do have to go left to right, do you just write in Roman characters, Arabic, or not Arabic characters, Roman characters? And if so, do you just transliterate? So, do you just write Mongolian in Roman characters going left to right? Because that's a curiosity. Because it does look like your characters link. So when looking at Mongolian, it looks like the characters link with one another, sort of like a cursive script. Right. So I can imagine you can't make the Mongolian script go sideways because they link. So do you just use Roman script whenever you want to do, or do you just do everything vertically? Like all your paperwork is also vertically. That would be so cool to see. I'd be like, oh man. Mostly. Oh, you use Cyrillic. Gotcha. That makes sense. That would probably be the borrowed alphabet of your area. That makes some sense. You're right. Everything's vertical. Now I want to see paperwork. Like, I know it sounds silly, but we've been in archaeology class. We're right now in the middle of Mesopotamia, and I'm looking at Sumerian, ancient Sumerian, and the way the Sumerian language was written. And it's written like in squares. It's so wild. And so I'm completely enamored with ancient Sumerian now, because that's such an interesting way to kind of go in groups and squares. So like anytime I see a language where it's not written in kind of the classic left to right, I'm fascinated. I mean, Arabic is written right to left, which is even more interesting because everybody would have been right-handed and smearing across the ink. So there would have had to have been some way to deal with the fact that they were writing like that, in much the same way that left-handers have to learn to write in English, you know? But the vertical languages, you still are writing trailing from where your writing is, so it can still work. It's not like you're writing from the bottom up. If you wrote from the bottom up, you'd have the same problem of smearing the ink while you wrote, you know. People fascinate me. Cultures fascinate me. I'm just fascinated by all of that. What's so funny is I find differences in culture is something that makes us all the same in my mind's eye. You know what I mean? Like, instead of thinking of differences of culture making you an alien, I kind of feel like that makes you more human in my world. Because I keep thinking about it. I mean, because like we all have weird things in our culture, and like we all have kind of cool things in our culture, and it's all the same all over the world. The cool things, the weird things. So I like talking about the cool things, and in my culture, we do this cool thing. What do you do in your culture that's cool? And then here's this weird thing we do in our culture. What's a weird thing you do in yours? You know, it's funny because it sort of transcends the traditional, you know, oh, everybody's so strange when I leave. It's like opposite of ethnophobia. It's like an ethnophilia in a way. I'm all into the idea of other ethnicities and other worlds and how people do stuff. It's so interesting. Like I said, I keep wanting to go over to Ray's country and just eat the food. But Ray's like, you won't like the food. I'm like, maybe so, but still, it would be cool.
I have a friend from Mongolia, and he says the food's weird.
I mean, the only thing I know of Mongolian would be American versions of Mongolian, and that's not going to be accurate. You know what I mean?
One thing I know about Mongolian is pretty much like, oh, what is that? That was cool.
Like the Mongolian barbecue and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's
like
not going to be.
That's all that we rarely ever.
That's not going to be ethnically correct. It's going to be about as ethnically correct as our Chinese food is to China.
You leave Taco Bell out of this,
right? Or Taco Bell is too. Taco Bell's probably. Yeah, the Mongolian we have is all Taiwanese. That would make some sense. But even when we were talking about ethnographers having to uh, ethnographers dealing with their own personal biases. When I was in Japan, they were talking about going out and getting horse. And I didn't want to eat horse because in our culture, we don't eat horses. And it's interesting because apparently we're kind of rare in that instance. You know what I mean? As in, like, in Japan, horse is a delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I don't. Oh, I can't imagine Mongolian food being bland. Well, I guess I always.
I talked to one kid before. He's from Asia as well, and he was telling me about like dog meat and how he's like, I've tried all of it. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what'd you think? He's like, it's the poor man's meat. Like a lot of that meat that you guys don't like, it's a poor man's meat over here. The horse is delicacy, but like dog, cat, things like that, it's like a poor man's meat. Like
The Japanese were also really into whale. They'll eat whale.
Oh yeah.
Which I
I mean,
I don't
you're
eat
an
whale.
island nation. You kind
Yeah.
of go for
Well,
whatever.
I keep making the joke that if you could eat sea rocks, the Japanese would figure out how to do it. It seems like they eat everything that's from the ocean. And I'm like, wow, like that's an amazing. I didn't know you could turn this into a food. You know, you only eat sheep and cow. Yeah, but it may be bland, but it'd still be good. I think it'd be. I don't know.
I don't mind sheep. Sheep's
Yeah, some bland foods, like sometimes the Irish foods and especially English foods, tend to be bland.
true.
I mean, especially compared to American foods. We're a much spicier culture. We've got a lot more spices in our culture.
That's just 'cause
But
we
then
have a lot of
again,
cultures coming
I
through.
kind of like eating British food, even though, of course, obviously, I come from the South. So the South here is even more spicy. There's even more, we're, and to boot, I had a Cajun uncle. So, like, New Orleans and that
That's
area,
allspice.
they're brutally hot. Everything's brutally hot. So my taste buds are acclimated. I can eat ghost peppers and stuff like that,
I've had Cajun food though sometimes where there's like it's like the flavors just don't match well.
Right. Well, and that's my problem is I don't like hot for hot's sake. You know what I
Same.
mean? We just made this hot because it's cool to be hot,
I like
oh,
hot food, but I don't like hot that's painful.
right? And I'm like, no, I don't need to be, it doesn't need to be hot for hot's sake. That's not cool. Ha. But yeah. A lot of your food is just Chinese food. Chinese food would end up being kind of like our Mexican food, I'd bet. In that same sort of vein of, you go out and get fast food and it's all Chinese food, I would assume. And it's 11:09. I'm going to have to get going pretty soon because I still have to go to school.
Oh wow, we're past 11.
Yeah, but we've been having a great discussion, and I like talking to Ray, so it's kind of like, because it's the cultural anthropologist in me. I mean, Ray's an interesting person, so I like that.
Sure.
I dig it. And you and I are getting work done, so I enjoy talking to you as well. Enjoy spending time with you and stuff like that. I won't be on tomorrow because tomorrow's my rough day. Because I've got my Japanese class, my archaeology class, and my biology class. My biology class is at 8 a.m. And I don't want to park all day down there, so I take the train.
Yeah.
I got to catch the train at 6:55.
Oh, so not the first train, but very close to it.
Yeah, very close to the first train. The sun's usually not even up when I get to the train station right now,
Right.
which is cool.
Oh, my goodness.
Either way, I'm gonna get moving along, and I'll keep painting on this painting as time goes on because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, do your thing.
We're getting there.
All
I'm
right.
working with.
I'm gonna
shadow.
go and probably get food and all that stuff though. So.
Bye bye, Jackson. Hope you have a good day. Bye bye, Ray. It's good to talk to
Ray.
you. Thanks for indulging my weirdness about cultures. And then Colton's cutting things. I don't want Colton's problem, man. Colton's weird. Goodbye, my friend.
Peace.
I hope you have a good day as well.
You too.
Okay, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Keep your eyes on the stars. Bye bye.